The story of Job. There once lived a man named Job. He was a man who feared the Lord and made it his duty to stay far away from evil. Job was also highly favored by God and was rich. Not only was he rich, but the Bible states that Job was the greatest man in all of the East, having more riches than all other men in the land he lived in. Now Job had many houses in the land he possessed, and he had 7 sons and 3 daughters, who would enter into these houses and hold feasts and drink together. Now Job did not participate with them, but rather after his children had finished their drinking and eating, he would burn offerings for each one of them, for he thought that maybe the children had cursed God in their hearts, and Job would continue to do this for his children. And later, Satan went and presented himself before God. When God saw him, he said, "Where have you come from?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it." Then the Lord asked Satan, "Have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil." Satan replied to the Lord, "Yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." "All right, you may test him," the Lord said to Satan. "Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically." So Satan left the Lord's presence. Now Job was about to be tested, for God gave Satan power to test his faithful servant. And as it is Satan's job to destroy men, he was eager to test Job and test his faith, hoping to have him turn his back on God and curse him. One day, while Job dwelt in his home, 4 messengers appeared unto him with terrible news. The first revealed that raiders had come and killed all of Job's oxen and donkeys and men who watched over them. The second messenger told him that fire had fallen and burned up all of Job's sheep and shepherds. The second revealed that raiders had stolen his camels and killed his servants. And the fourth had the worst news of them all, for Job's children were all gathered together for a feast in one of his many houses. But it had collapsed and killed them all. And when Job had heard this, he was grieved and tore his clothes and shaved his head bald. But he did not curse God, but rather he praised God, saying, "I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord." And Satan returned unto God and told him, "A man will give up everything he has to save his life, but reach out and take away his health, and he will surely curse you to your face." And this time God gave him permission to hurt Job physically, but only commanded that Satan not take away his life. So Satan left immediately and struck Job with a painful boil from head to toe. But that wasn't the worst of it all. For Job's wife betrayed the Lord and Job, telling Job to curse the God of the heavens. But Job rebuked her and told her that what she said was foolish, stating, "Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad?" In all of this trouble that Job went through, he did not curse God, but rather, he praised him even more. Now when 3 of Job's friends had heard of the terrible things that had befallen Job, they hurried over to where he lived so that they could comfort him. And when they saw him, they tore their clothes and threw dust upon their heads, crying loudly with him. And they sat on the ground for 7 days. And not once did they speak a word, for the grief was far too great for words. And after some time, Job finally broke the silence and cursed the day he was born, saying, "Why wasn't I born dead? Why didn't I die as I came from the womb? Why was I laid on my mother's lap? Why did she nurse me on her breasts? Had I died at birth, I would now be at peace. I would be asleep, at rest." His 3 friends then took turns, speaking many things at length. They tried to convince Job that he had done something bad, that God only punishes those who sin and disobey him. Therefore Job was grieved because he knew he had not done evil. Yet his friends assumed that he must have done something bad. Job became wary of them, calling them miserable comforters, and he continued to state that he was righteous and did no sin to deserve the punishment given to him. But they didn't care to listen to what Job is saying, but rather thinking to know God, they accused him of having done something evil to deserve this punishment. After many exchanged words among themselves, the Lord finally spoke unto them, proclaiming his greatness, saying, "Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words? Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying line? God then proceeded to ask many other questions. For Job and his friends had spoken a great deal of words concerning the Lord. Then, after many words and questions, the Lord said to Job, "Do you still want to argue with the Almighty? You are God's critic, but do you have the answers?" Then Job replied to the Lord, "I am nothing. How could I ever find the answers? I will cover my mouth with my hand. I have said too much already. I have nothing more to say." Furthermore, the Lord had more words and questions to speak unto Job, demanding that he answer. The Lord continued to explain to Job that no one can know the ways of God, for his ways are above ours. And after God had finished speaking, Job replied, saying, "I know that you can do anything, and no one can stop you." You asked, "Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorance?" It was me, and I was talking about things I knew nothing about, things far too wonderful for me. You said, "Listen, and I will speak. I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. I had only heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back everything I said, and I sit in dust and ashes to show my repentance." And God accepted Job's apology, but he proclaimed that he was angry with Job's friends for speaking falsely about the ways of God. For they falsely accused Job of sinning, and they spoke of things they knew not, claiming that God only brings destruction unto the sinner. Therefore he instructed them to take 7 bulls and 7 rams unto Job, so that he could sacrifice them and pray for them, as God had said that he would accept the prayer of Job. They then did as the Lord had commanded, and Job's prayer was accepted. And after all this, the Lord was gracious unto Job, and gave him twice the fortune he had before he lost his riches, blessing him in the second half of his life. For he now had doubled the among of all the cattle he had before, and he was given 7 more sons and 3 daughters from the Lord. His brothers, sisters, and former friends also feasted with him in his home, bringing him gifts of money and gold. And in the end he died, and having gone through the trials and tribulations that God had put him through, he was blessed and counted righteous for having faith in the Lord.